We've spent 3 years concerned about what's going to happen with the fourth industrial revolution and how it's going to progress, the changes that are being brought about in the world, because the world is changing. And our relationship with life, with the planet, is also changing, as it is with work. We're concerned especially about how people are trained. We're concerned about the fact that we're progressing towards the fourth industrial revolution, but we know that many jobs will be changing, that people are going to need to be trained in a different way to be able to work in new forms of job that will emerge. It's also true that we're also very concerned, together with many other countries, because of the priority of the environment and sustainability. We're concerned in the context of how digitization and technology are both progressing. But we've been preparing for that over the last few years in the Basque Country, but all of a sudden, when nobody expected it, this really bad dream just popped up. It was a virus that became a pandemic that made us face the COVID-19 pandemic, which has meant that over 100,000 people are confined at home. Hundreds of thousands of people, unfortunately, have died, and 90% of countries around the world have fallen into economic recession, and unfortunately, millions of people are losing their jobs. This kind of economic problem has never existed since the Great Depression of 1929. It's terrible, and we need to face up not just to the fourth industrial revolution, but what this crisis of the pandemic really means, and the problems that it's generating, because we need to be clear on the fact that despite the pandemic, despite the fact that we need to get the economy kick-started, despite the fact that we need to get people to come back to normality, even though it's a different kind of normality, we need to remember that the fourth industrial revolution is still carrying on. Digitization, connectivity, artificial intelligence, the idea of robotics, smart systems are still developing. It's just that now they're developing more quickly. But biosciences are also developing, as is biotechnology, very swiftly. And this is also meaning the world is changing, because we are moving towards a world which is increasingly more automated. That's due to robotics. A more cognitive world, thanks to cognitive intelligence, which is a lot more advanced development than artificial intelligence, or immediate data access thanks to 5G networks, or the Internet of Everything. The Internet of Everything is going to be a far greater development than the Internet of Things. And what's more, a world full of virus that can bring us down at any moment in time, something that we've already just seen in the crisis that we're experiencing now. So this disruption, complexity and uncertainty are going to be alongside us in the future for a long, long time. But there, I think it's very important to realize that we need to put right at the center of this major challenge that's ahead of us people. Because people talk a lot about the new era, the new digitization era, the technological era. And it's true that will happen. But we cannot concentrate on a digitization and a technology era. We need the future to be the era of humanity, the era of humankind. The future needs to be something that people are at the heart of, so that using technology and digitization, we can get things to improve, and in that we can all live better. The era of humankind is the main goal. So, we need to create and design new spaces for the future, where sustainable economy, bioeconomics, circular economy, and new forms of consumerism are also key if we're going to carry on living and working in this fantastic planet where we live. Because it's true that the world is changing, definitively, but it needs to change for the better, not change for the worse, especially if we know that we're going to have problems with these terrible viruses that are going to come around again. This means that on many other things, and we're working on that in VET, we need to work on 4 skills: the adaptation skill, reaction skill, anticipation skill, and disruption skill. And in the Basque country, in VET, we've taken this approach so as to be able to face the 2 main problems that I mentioned at the beginning. Firstly, we've got an action plan, which has 2 sides to it. Firstly, the continuity plan, which continues with our response to the 4th industrial revolution. But we've added to that something else: smart VET centers. These are going to work in a different way. They're going to work with a different kind of structure and a different kind of organization, which I will explain to you briefly. They need to develop, of course, a lot of technology, but they also need to be able to manage sustainability and complexity, always working on high-performance training, which is the training that we need, the training and the education that we need, so that people are ready for the future, a future that can be promising if we do things properly. We're also preparing a contingency plan or an emergency plan. There are 3 main parts to this. 1, to support VET centers and their surrounding areas. That is, people that may be unemployed in a specific area, in a specific geographical part of our country that need to be upskilled. We can be there to help them. We can also help companies at a local level so that these companies can be competitive and can carry on creating jobs, which is, of course, what we want. We've also set up a digitization plan. This is really, really important. It's very urgent to digitize VET. And also what we call a reinforcement plan or a support plan for the possible second wave of COVID-19. In this environment support plan, or for the surrounding areas, there are 3 main parts to it. Firstly, very flexible training, tailor-made training, so that we can respond to companies' needs, to people's needs very quickly, so that people can access new employment straight away. Applied innovation, which was where we apply all the knowledge that we've known to small and micro companies, and we're working with over 2,000 of them on how they can improve their production processes so as to work on applied innovation. This is something that's being done by our VET schools, and what we managed to do here is to manage this applied innovation knowledge. And what that means is that at the end of the day, we get collective intelligence so that everybody can share that knowledge, and companies, VET schools, and using collaborative networks between companies and VET schools share that knowledge. Our digitization plan has 3 main parts to it. Firstly, a strategic plan, which is how can we make a digital strategy within our VET schools, how can we set up strategic digitalization processes, and how can we get all VET schools connected to all of this. And so in this way, we're going to turn these VET smart centers into digital centers, full digital centers, not just from a technological viewpoint, but from the way they work, the way they teach, the way they're organized. When we talk about supporting so that we are prepared for a possible new outbreak of COVID-19 or other viruses, we're working with German companies, with our own research centers here in the Basque country, with our own applied research center, Technica, so that companies that are dedicated to industrial production in 48 hours, they can turn straight away to produce what we can call PPEs. So this is something that we've done already. In 48 hours, a company that produces parts for a car, for example, can, in 48 hours, be producing PPEs, protective equipment, for all those healthcare workers that need it, so that we don't get caught out again. All of this means that we're working with smart centers. This means that there are 3 areas they have to work on: intelligence, robotics, artificial intelligence, sustainability, which is another important thing, or complexity. Of course, they have to have new goals, new methods, new narrative models, a new working culture, and three main elements: high performance training, strategic innovation, and applied intelligence via collaborative networks. And there are 63 VET schools working in these collaborative networks in the moment. There'll be smart centres per se, as there'll be 24 this year, and there'll be 32 by next year. Another important factor is agility. We need to be agile. We need to have strategic plans. We need to take the right decisions at the right time as quickly as possible, and we do that through competitive intelligence platforms that helps us transmit information to then develop what's called complexity management. Complexity management is comprised of five main elements: information management, knowledge management, innovation management, change management, and trust management, as you can see on the slide. This is all very important because we need to be used and we need to be prepared to manage complexity. And with the elements that we are developing in our VET schools, we can work in this field without any major problems. These smart centres need to have a strategic area, a clear strategic area, an innovation area, and an operational area. Those that decide where we should be heading, those that we decide to suggest new ideas for what we're doing, and those that make things happen. These are the three main cornerstones. As you will see in the next slide, they're all linked to each other, right from design, setting up projects, developing projects, implementing projects, and consolidating them. These three departments work in this whole strategy in a coordinated fashion, and that really is giving us, making sure that these VET schools are high-performing and can respond to the fourth industrial revolution and protect us from the next pandemic. And there's a key person behind of this, which is the driver of change. The driver of change is the one who's pushing to get things happening in all of the organization. This is another key figure that we're also introducing into our VET schools, our smart VET schools. Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, don't stop. Just don't stop. You're going to have to keep going. You have to keep moving forwards because you don't wait for the future. You face the future. And how are we going to face the future? By following the example that you can see on the screen. We may have some huge waves ahead of us, and we may be on our own when we're facing the future if we're not coordinated, if we're not organized. We can be very brave. We can face those waves head on. We can try to fight against them. But if we're not organized, if we don't all row together, if we don't face the change together, the waves will crash down on us. They will let us head. We'll just different countries, VET schools from different European countries can all work together to seek a common goal, which is to create value at our own rate, with different ways of doing things. But we are able to, five of us work together, these five platforms that you can hear about today. All of us, different countries, can work together seeking the same goal, which is to improve people's training in Europe, to improve our societies, and at the end of the day, to seek better lives for everybody and develop as we all want to. It's important to face things head on because we need to make progress. And you can see we need to find these results without any kind of fear, using smart systems, applied strategic systems, so that we can see the future without being fearful of the future, even though the waves are ahead of us, even though the waves may be ahead of us. Together, we need to face them. We need to all know where we're heading. That's what these projects, these centres of vocational excellence are all about, because we're rewriting history. We need to be clear about that. All of those countries that are connected today, 104, I think, and now it's 105 that are connected here today. We're rewriting history because we're looking at what's going to happen in the future, a different future that we need to face, using the approach that I've just said. And we need to be clear on the fact that nothing comes from nothing, that we need to build, not destroy. We need to move forward, no backwards. We need to take risks and not just hide in the corner. And that's what we're doing in Europe now. We're building, we're making progress, and we're taking risks. We're running risks. Because it's important to know that we were managing the unknown. The fourth industrial revolution was unknown to us. We didn't know what we had ahead of us. But now, we know that we need to head forward towards what's unforeseen. We don't know what's ahead of us. We can't forecast what's ahead of us, with a virus and without a virus. And we need to be prepared for the unforeseen, the unknown. Thank you so much for connecting to this event. I'd like to say thanks to the fantastic speakers that we've got ahead of us today for taking part, and to all of you. I wish you all the very best. Enjoy today's event. Enjoy this Congress this morning. I hope you learn a lot. I hope it helps you with ideas. And if you need anything from us, we're here to help you.